My sister demanded I miss my dream job interview to babysit her kids. I said no, and she called me selfish. Now she's jobless, divorced, and very, very sorry. I was literally holding my dream in my hands, the kind of opportunity people kill for, when my sister called, sobbing, screaming into the phone that I was abandoning her. Her words? "You're choosing some job fantasy over family. You're selfish, Amanda." That was the moment everything in me snapped. I'm 28 female, and I've worked for this for years, not just academically, but emotionally, grinding through rejection letters, surviving on ramen and hope, patching together freelance gigs just to keep the lights on. I finally got the email. Second round interview at Alwyn and Reeve, one of the biggest architecture firms in Chicago. The final round. In person. Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. My sister Melanie, 35 female, knew this. She knew. She's a single mom to two kids, Zoe, 7, and Max, 4. And yeah, I've babysat more weekends than I can count. I love those kids. I really do. But I am not their emergency backup parent. Still, Monday night, 10:47 p.m., she calls crying. Her sitter bailed. She had to go to work, some urgent meeting. Could I please just skip the interview just this once? You don't even have the job yet, she said. My income is real. I need it. You'll get another shot. That's when I said no. I was shaking. Not from anger, well, maybe a little, but from fear. Fear that if I gave in again, I'd never stop giving in. That every time my life took a step forward, Melanie would be right there yanking me back like a chain around my ankle. She exploded. First crying, then screaming, then guilt. I helped raise you after Mom died. I gave up so much for you, and this is how you repay me? Her voice cracked, but there was steel underneath. You don't care about this family. You never have. That hit harder than I expected. Because yeah, Melanie did help raise me. I was only 13 when Mom passed. She was 20, already halfway out the door to college, but she stayed. Worked 2 jobs, helped with homework, cooked dinner. I never forgot that. But somewhere along the way, that sacrifice turned into a leash. And every time I tried to do something for myself, college out of state, a study abroad semester, even dating someone who lived more than 30 minutes away, it was a problem. You know Melanie needs you, Dad would say. Or worse. Don't be like your mom. Don't just leave. So no, it wasn't just a job interview. It was me finally saying, I am not your doormat. I didn't go to her place the next morning. I went to my interview, nailed it too. They offered me the job 2 days later. I was over the moon. Melanie didn't speak to me for a week. When she finally did, it wasn't to congratulate me. She left a voicemail. I hope you're happy. I got fired. Max was screaming in the background during my Zoom, and Zoe spilled juice on my boss's laptop, all because you couldn't step up one time. That's when I knew this wasn't about a favor. It never had been. This was about control. And oh, she didn't stop there. It was supposed to be over after that. She'd yelled, I'd drawn a line, and I had my job, my first real job. But Melanie doesn't do over. Melanie does meltdown. 3 days after the voicemail, I came out of work to find my driver's side mirror hanging by a thread. Just swinging there like a broken arm, scratches down the door. Bitch, carved into the dust on the back window. I stood there in the cold, keys in hand, just shaking. I didn't even need to guess. Zoe's handwriting. Sloppy, backwards. B. Max's crayons all over my glove compartment last month. They'd been in my car a dozen times. Melanie would always drop them off, just for a few minutes. Guess she remembered where I parked for work. I texted her. Did you or the kids come near my car? Her reply? Don't be dramatic. Maybe if you weren't so selfish, people wouldn't hate you so much. People. Plural. So she was talking about me, to the kids. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I filed a police report, I took photos, I told HR at work. They moved my parking spot underground, added a security cam, and I blocked her number. Not out of spite, out of survival. That Sunday was the final straw. My dad called, a rare event. Said the whole family was getting together at Melanie's for a healing brunch. His words. I told him I wasn't coming. I was working overtime, I said. He said, that's just like your mother. Always working. Never there when we needed her. Boom, that old scar. He knew what that meant to me. So yeah, I went. And it was a trap. Her living room looked like a Hallmark hostage situation. Folding chairs, mismatched coffee mugs, some Costco quiche still half frozen in the middle. Melanie hugged me when I walked in, but it was the kind of hug where her nails dig in just a little. Fake smile, cold eyes. Zoe ran up to me and said, "You're the reason Mommy cried." Max asked, "Are you still mean?" My stomach flipped. I sat. I tried to eat. I tried to be civil. But the whole thing was just off. Melanie kept making digs. Some people just don't understand responsibility. My aunt nodded like they'd rehearsed this. My dad said, "Family helps family, Amanda. No one wins if we're divided." Then Melanie pulled out a folder. Printed emails. My job offer letter. My LinkedIn profile. Photos from my office Instagram. She'd stalked every public thing I'd posted, and she read them out loud. Listen to this. Grateful to be starting at Alwyn and Reeve. Finally found a team that values my voice, she sneered. Finally? As if we never supported her. I stood up. My chair scraped loud against the tile. Are you seriously doing this? I asked. You called me selfish, got your kids to vandalize my car, and now you're turning a brunch into a public shaming because I got a job? Silence. Zoe started crying. Max clung to Melanie's leg. And then, Melanie slapped me. Not hard. Not like a movie slap. But fast, sharp, humiliating. My cheek stung, but the worst part was the silence after. No one said a word. No one got up. My dad just sipped his coffee. I left. I didn't say a word. Not to them. Not to anyone. I drove home with the windows down because suddenly the air in my own car felt too thick. And that was the last time I saw my sister in her home. The next time, she'd be the one crying. And the whole neighborhood would hear it. It started with Melanie showing up at my job. Not a text, not a call. She showed up, dragging Zoe and Max with her, still in their school uniforms, standing outside my office building like she was staging some kind of protest. She was holding a sign. A literal cardboard sign. It said, "She abandoned her family." I work in a glass front building. Our receptionist, Martin, buzzed my desk and whispered, "Hey, Amanda, your sister's outside." With children and a sign. I thought he was joking. He wasn't. I came downstairs and there she was. Hair wild, eyes glassy, kids shifting uncomfortably next to her. Zoe looked like she wanted to disappear into the concrete. Max was crying because he'd dropped his juice and no one brought a backup. Meanwhile, Melanie was just yelling at everyone. She has time for meetings but not her own niece and nephew. This is the woman you're promoting? This is what success looks like? People were recording. My manager came outside, gently trying to de-escalate. Melanie turned on him so fast it was like she'd rehearsed it. You think she's so great? Ask her how many times I had to feed her growing up. Ask her what she was doing while I was working 2 jobs and wiping her nose. I told her to leave. I begged her to leave. Zoe tugged at her sleeve and said she was cold. That's when Melanie screamed, loud enough to make Max flinch. You owe me, Amanda. I gave up my life for you. It took security to make her go. I didn't go back upstairs. I sat in the parking garage for an hour, just breathing, just trying to remind myself I wasn't crazy. Later that night, I got a call from CPS. Apparently, someone had filed a complaint, an anonymous one, claimed I was unstable, that I'd left Melanie's kids alone, that I'd manipulated minors into defacing property. I could hear the social worker's tone shift the moment I calmly said, "Actually, I have security footage from the parking lot. Want me to send it over?" The report was closed in 48 hours. Baseless. Fabricated. But it left a stink on everything. At work, I had to explain. HR needed to know if this was going to be a pattern. My manager was understanding but tense. Is this going to be ongoing? He asked. I didn't know how to answer. But then it got worse. That weekend, Melanie went live on Facebook. She held her phone, selfie style, mascara smudged, crying just enough to look tragic without ruining the filter. She said she was being bullied and abandoned by the very person she raised. That she sacrificed everything for family and now was being punished by a cold corporate robot who used to call her sissy. She name-dropped my company. She read parts of my job description on the video. She told her followers to let them know what kind of heartless monster they hired. It got shared. Not viral, but enough that I started getting DMs. Mostly trolls, but one or two were nasty. One said, "Hope your building catches fire with you in it." Another sent a photo of a noose emoji with the caption, "You deserve this." I reported what I could. My company started doing damage control. They were kind, but the message was clear. This couldn't keep happening. So I filed for a no-contact order. And when the server showed up to hand-deliver it, Melanie screamed from her porch, "I hope your uterus dries up and you die alone." That's the woman who raised me. That's who I was supposed to destroy my future for. She lost her job 2 weeks later. Apparently, when you spend your lunch breaks live streaming hate rants and show up to people's workplaces with cardboard signs and children, it doesn't exactly scream reliable employee. Her boss called it a disruption to the office environment. HR called it a potential liability. She called me. 6 missed calls. 1 voicemail that started out tearful. I just need someone to talk to. And spiraled into full-on rage when I didn't answer. You think you're so much better than me now? You think your stupid job makes you important? You think you won? You're pathetic, Amanda. You'll always be pathetic. Click. I blocked her again. Changed my number. Told work to direct all inquiries about me to HR. Locked down my socials. But the damage was already out there. My reputation had taken a hit. Nothing permanent, but enough to keep me up at night wondering if I'd be labeled the girl with the crazy sister forever. And then, the kicker. One night I got a message on Instagram from someone I didn't recognize. A woman named Rachel. Her profile was private, one mutual friend. The message said, "I'm sorry to bother you. I'm divorcing Melanie's ex. She gave me your information, said I should ask you how she really treats her kids." I stared at my phone for 5 straight minutes. Melanie gave her my info? Turns out Melanie had been dating her ex-husband. Again. Secretly. He left Rachel 2 months prior, and Melanie was playing perfect stepmom with her kids now. But when Melanie started spiraling, screaming at his daughter over spilled cereal, calling Rachel a sperm bank, locking herself in the bathroom and sobbing loud enough for the whole house to hear, he left. Again. And Rachel was pissed. She sent me screenshots, photos of Zoe with bruises on her arms. Not from violence, but from being dragged too hard. Max with matted hair and shoes on the wrong feet. Voice memos Melanie had sent her ex, screaming, "I can't breathe when those little demons are near me." I listened to one of them on loop, just numb. This was the woman who said I abandoned them. This was the mom I was supposed to give everything up for. She wasn't just overwhelmed, she was imploding, and dragging the kids down with her. I did the thing I should have done months ago. I called CPS. Not a petty call, not out of revenge, just facts. Everything I'd seen, heard, documented. I didn't exaggerate, I didn't embellish. I just laid it all out. The Facebook lives, the school drop-offs, the condition of the kids when I did watch them, the psychological damage from her tantrums. 3 days later, they showed up at her door. She called me from a different number. I didn't answer. She left one last voicemail. "I know it was you, you evil bitch. You ruined my life. I hope you're happy. You turned my own family against me." But that was the thing. I was her family. She just never treated me like it. Update 1. Wow. Okay, so I didn't expect this to blow up the way it did. I mostly wrote everything out because I needed to breathe. I needed to put the chaos somewhere. But then my inbox exploded. And y'all, the messages, the DMs, the comments, I don't know if I've ever felt this scene in my entire life. So many of you shared your own stories of toxic siblings, golden child trauma, being scapegoated, of finally saying no and being treated like the villain. And some of y'all were hilarious. Shout out to whoever said, next time she goes live, just Venmo her $5 for therapy and call it crowdfunded growth. I laughed so hard I cried. Honestly, I needed that. Let me clarify a few things since a lot of people had questions, and there's been new drama. Of course there has. First, yes, CPS is actively involved. And before anyone gets concerned, Zoe and Max are okay. They're with their paternal aunt now, their dad's sister. She reached out to me last night and said, "Thank you for standing up when no one else would." I sobbed. Like, Ugly cried on the kitchen floor, sobbed. Those kids meant everything to me at one point. It broke me to walk away, but I knew staying in Melanie's orbit was only helping her, not them. Second, I saw some comments saying, "This sounds made up. No way someone acts this unhinged." And I get that. I wish it was made up. But some people genuinely do crumble when the world stops revolving around them. Melanie's not just entitled. She's emotionally unstable in a way that feels like quicksand. You try to help her, you get sucked in. You try to pull back, she drags you down harder. Her meltdowns don't feel like tantrums. They feel like warfare. And when you've been trained since childhood to be the peacekeeper, it takes everything to break that spell. Third, and I didn't plan on sharing this, but someone from her old job messaged me on LinkedIn anonymously. They said Melanie had been on thin ice for months. Constant lateness, gossiping about coworkers, multiple HR complaints from people who said she used her kids as emotional leverage to avoid work. One even said she pulled the "I'm a single mom, you wouldn't understand" card during a team meeting about missed deadlines. So yeah, I didn't cost her everything. I just stopped cushioning the fall. Now, the real kicker, my dad showed up at my apartment last night. Didn't text, didn't call, just knocked. I almost didn't answer. But he looked smaller. Not physically, but emotionally. Like some part of the illusion finally cracked. He stood in my doorway for a minute before saying, "I didn't know it was this bad. I thought she just needed help." I said, "She did need help, she still does. But I'm not a lifeline. I'm a person." We didn't hug. We didn't cry. It wasn't a movie moment, but it was a start. Anyway, I'm okay. Exhausted, but okay. I've got therapy lined up, I've got a new number, and I've got a job I still love, even if HR occasionally side-eyes me like I might start live streaming a breakdown at any second. I won't. Thank you sincerely. Every comment, every story, every meme, y'all made me feel like I wasn't crazy. But buckle up. Melanie's silence didn't last long. You want escalation? Oh, she's about to go nuclear. She tried to get me fired. I wish I was exaggerating. I wish this was just some petty family drama that fizzled out after CPS got involved. But Melanie doesn't retreat. She reloads. It started with a package. An actual physical manila envelope delivered to my office. No return address, just my name scrawled in thick Sharpie. I opened it at my desk thinking maybe it was HR paperwork or something related to the CPS situation. Nope. Inside were screenshots. Dozens of them. Old tweets. DMS half were mine, like from college years ago, some edgy humor, some definitely not HR-friendly memes. The other half were fake, like badly photoshopped stuff designed to make me look racist, sexist, like I'd called coworkers slurs. One had my head photoshopped over some influencer's viral meltdown. It was so poorly done I actually laughed out loud. And then I saw the letter. Typed. Single-spaced. 3 pages. Addressed, "To whom it may concern." It accused me of everything from bullying Melanie as a child to gaslighting and emotionally manipulating minors. It claimed I was a danger to the workplace, that I was weaponizing privilege to climb the ladder and abandoning vulnerable children in the process. It ended with, "This woman should not be trusted with any position of leadership, especially not one that allows her to mentor others. Protect your team. Do the right thing." There was no signature, but the postmark on the envelope was from Melanie's neighborhood. And the screenshots? Some were cropped from my own Instagram, ones only she would have had saved. There was even a photo of me at age 16, wearing a hoodie I hadn't seen in a decade. She was trying to build a dossier. I brought it straight to HR. I laid everything out. CPS, the Facebook Lives, the stalking, the car vandalism, the no-contact order. And thank God my company had been watching this unfold from a distance because they took me seriously. They brought in legal, they started documenting, but it still made me feel filthy. Like I'd been dragged into the mud and had to prove I wasn't the monster she painted me as. And then, just when I thought it couldn't get worse, Melanie went after my friends. She DM'd my college roommate saying I'd abandoned the woman who raised me. She left a comment under a photo of me and my friend Lily at a networking event, calling me a parasite in heels. She even reached out to my ex trying to stir the pot, claiming I always had a superiority complex and was faking the whole trauma narrative for attention. I hadn't talked to that ex in years, but he sent me the messages. His text just said, "Your sister's gone full Joker, stay safe." And I started to worry I wasn't safe. I installed a security cam at my apartment. I changed my routines. I parked on a different level every day. And still, every time I heard a footstep in the hall or saw a flicker on the screen, my stomach clenched. This wasn't drama anymore. It was obsession. And then came the night Melanie left a voicemail I'll never forget. Slurring her words, sniffling, half crying, half snarling. "You ruined me. I hate you. But I still love you. I didn't know how to make you stay." There it was. The truth under the rage. She didn't want help. She wanted control. And now that she'd lost it, she was spiraling into something way darker. I'd spent months ducking, shielding, cleaning up her chaos like I always had. But that voicemail? That one broke something open. She didn't want peace. She wanted power. And I was done giving it to her. I sent the voicemail to my lawyer. Yeah, I have a lawyer now. Corporate had already suggested it, and after the fake screenshots, the stalking, and the public harassment, it wasn't just self-preservation, it was necessity. I asked him what my legal options were. His response? "Plenty. But if you want her to stop, you have to hit her where it hurts. Her reputation. Her image." So I did what Melanie feared most. I told the truth. I wrote a letter, carefully worded, factual, calm. No rage, no venom. Just the timeline, photos, screenshots, voicemails, everything. I attached a copy of the CPS report, the HR documentation, and the police report from the vandalism. And I sent it to her job's HR department, her ex's custody lawyer, and most importantly, to every family member who still thought I was the cold sister who wouldn't help. I didn't frame it as revenge. I framed it as clarity. No more secrets, no more whispered explanations, just the truth laid bare. But I wasn't done. Remember that Facebook Live she did? I screen recorded the whole thing, with timestamps. Then I emailed the video to CPS. Again, with a note, "I think you missed this." 2 days later, her visitation rights were formally suspended pending investigation. The next time Melanie called me, it wasn't rage. It wasn't tears. It was screaming. She called from a burner number, and the moment I picked up, it was pure fury. "You disgusting snake, you're jealous. You ruined my family." And I finally said it. "You ruined it yourself. I just stopped covering it up." She went quiet, then hung up. That silence was the loudest thing she'd ever said. And it didn't last. Update 2. I honestly didn't think I'd be back here again, but here we are. Quick update. Things are weirdly quiet. Melanie hasn't contacted me in over a week. No calls, no DMs, no mystery packages. Her socials are either locked or gone entirely. According to my cousin, who still talks to her, bless his chaos tolerance, she's retreating to focus on healing, which I guess is code for licking her wounds and planning her next meltdown. The CPS investigation is ongoing, but I've been told the kids are staying with their aunt indefinitely. I'm not allowed to contact them directly, which kills me, but I understand it. They deserve peace, stability, and not to be in the crossfire of their mom's unraveling. As for me, I'm still standing. Work's been good. HR actually thanked me for how I handled things. One of my coworkers left a post-it on my desk that said, "You're not the problem, she is." I kept it. I'm not sure how this ends. Maybe it already has. Maybe Melanie stays quiet. Or maybe she explodes again someday. But I'm no longer waiting for the next fire to put out. I'm living my life. Finally. Thanks for walking through hell with me, Reddit. It was time to bury the past. Not with closure, but with consequence. You want revenge? Here's what I did. I waited until Mother's Day. Melanie always made a huge production of it, posting curated brunch selfies, long captions about sacrificing everything for her children, tagging brands like she was about to launch a perfume line called Emotional Blackmail by Mel. This year, she was quiet. No posts, no brunch, just silence. So I gave her a little gift. I emailed every mommy influencer she'd ever tagged, every brand she name-dropped for fake partnerships, every boutique that reposted her styled photos. I sent them all a Dropbox folder labeled Behind the Filter. Inside, clips from her Facebook Lives where she called her kids leeches, screenshots of texts where she begged me to take them for weekends so I can go be a real human again. The CPS visitation suspension letter, redacted but very real, and a transcript of the voicemail she left me, the one where she said, "I didn't know how to make you stay." Then I sent the same package, anonymously, to the PTA at Zoe's school, with a note, "This is the woman speaking at your career day next month." Petty? Maybe. But honest? Absolutely. And I didn't stop there. Remember all those motivational quotes she'd post with beach photos and borrowed sunglasses? I made a collage. Side-by-side comparisons of her Instagram captions and the real messages she sent me. Rage, guilt trips, breakdowns. I printed it, blew it up poster size, left it at our old high school on the alumni bulletin board. Melanie always wanted to be seen. Now she was. I didn't do it to humiliate her. I did it because no one else ever told the truth. Not to her followers. Not to our family. Not even to herself. Melanie was a fantasy. I just held up a mirror. And if she didn't like the reflection, that wasn't my problem anymore. I expected fury. I expected another storm, calls, threats, maybe even a public meltdown part 2. What I didn't expect was silence. Days passed, then a week, then 2, and finally, out of nowhere, an email. Subject, "I give up." No greeting, no punctuation, just, "You win, I get it now. I ruined everything. I lost the kids, I lost my job. Nobody talks to me. They all think I'm crazy. Maybe I am. Happy? You finally got what you wanted." I read it 3 times, not because I didn't understand, but because I didn't feel what I thought I would. No satisfaction, no vindication, just emptiness. This wasn't a villain confessing defeat. It was a broken person realizing no one was left to scream at. I didn't respond. Because this wasn't about winning. It never was. I just wanted to be free. Melanie made herself the sun in our family's universe for years. Every mood, every crisis, every choice revolved around keeping her from going supernova. And for once, finally, that gravity was gone. I don't know if she'll ever get better. I don't know if I'll ever speak to her again. But I do know this. Zoe and Max are safe. I still have my job. And when I look in the mirror now, I don't see guilt. I don't see failure. I see a woman who said no and meant it. I see someone who stopped apologizing for surviving. And I see the one person Melanie couldn't break. Me.